You're sitting at the kitchen table, sipping coffee, looking over your bills. You've worked hard, saved faithfully, and yet there it is. A credit card balance or a loan. The word debt often feels heavy, almost shameful. But here's the real question: is all debt bad, or can it sometimes be a smart tool when used carefully? Today, we're talking about how smart people use debt without letting it control them. Think of this as a guide not just for you, but for your family too. Because the way you handle money today may ripple into the lives of your children and grandchildren tomorrow. Debt as a tool, not a trap, is one of those ideas that can completely shift how we see money. Too often, debt is painted as something shameful, like a mark of failure, but in reality, it's more like fire. Left uncontrolled, fire can burn a house down, but in the fireplace, under control, it warms the entire home. Smart people know that debt, when used carefully, can actually create opportunities and stability instead of chaos. Think about a family who dreams of owning a home. If they waited until they had the full amount in cash, they might never move in. A mortgage, with terms they can realistically manage, lets them build roots, create traditions, and give their grandchildren a place to gather. The debt itself isn't the problem, it's how thoughtfully or carelessly it's handled. Another way to see this is through the lens of farming. Imagine borrowing seeds for a season, not to waste them on the ground, but to plant them in soil you know will give a harvest. The debt, in this case, is the borrowed seed. As long as the harvest will outweigh what you borrowed, it makes sense. The trap comes when people borrow without a plan for planting, or worse, they scatter the seeds on rocky ground where nothing will grow. The same is true for taking on loans for flashy purchases that don't bring long-term value. A vacation paid with high interest credit might leave you with more regret than memories, while a well-planned use of debt for education, healthcare, or a home repair may actually protect your family's well-being. What makes debt a trap is forgetting that repayment always comes. Smart people remind themselves that every borrowed dollar is tomorrow's responsibility. They ask simple but powerful questions before signing anything. Does this create stability? Does this add value to my family's life in the long run? Can I manage this without losing sleep? If the answers lean toward yes, then debt may serve as a stepping stone instead of a stumbling block. Seeing debt as a tool also changes how we teach the next generation. Children notice whether money decisions bring peace or tension. When they see a parent or grandparent using debt wisely, explaining that it's not free money, but a calculated choice, they learn that responsibility and opportunity can walk hand in hand. In the end, debt doesn't have to be the villain in the story. In the right hands, it becomes part of building a stable, meaningful life, not a chain that holds you back. The rule of generational balance is about remembering that every financial decision doesn't just touch your life today, it echoes into the lives of those who come after you. Debt, in particular, has this ripple effect. Think of it like planting a tree in the backyard. If you choose a tree that grows strong, provides shade, and maybe even bears fruit, it becomes a gift for your children and grandchildren. They'll sit under it on summer days, enjoy its beauty, and remember who planted it. But if you choose a tree that drains the soil, blocks out sunlight, and weakens the garden, then future generations inherit a burden instead of a blessing. Debt works in exactly that way. When taken on with balance in mind, it may build a foundation that lasts. When chosen carelessly, it can weigh down those you love. Smart families often pause to ask, who benefits from this decision, and who might carry its cost? For example, taking on a manageable mortgage to own a family home can provide a place where everyone gathers for holidays, where stories are shared, and where the family identity feels anchored. That debt, when well planned, creates value across generations. On the other hand, piling up credit card debt for temporary comforts can leave children with fewer resources when they step into adulthood, or even with financial stress if they need to step in and help later. This balance also shows up in retirement planning. Imagine a grandparent who decides to borrow just enough to cover an essential medical expense, keeping their retirement savings intact for the long run. That choice protects not just their own health, but also the family's stability. Contrast that with taking on a loan for luxuries that don't add lasting value. In the end, that debt may steal from the security the family could have had. The difference lies in whether the choice nurtures or drains. What's often overlooked is the teaching power of these decisions. Younger generations watch how debt is used, even when no one sits down to explain it. They notice if a parent takes on debt for education or a practical investment, and they notice if it's for something fleeting. By showing them that financial decisions are about both present comfort and future responsibility, you give them more than advice. You give them a living example. Generational balance is about remembering that money choices ripple forward. Debt, when weighed carefully, can be a tool for legacy, not just a line on a statement. Borrowing for stability, not just luxury, is one of those ideas that feels almost upside down at first. Many people believe that all borrowing is a sign of weakness or recklessness, but the truth is more layered. There are moments in life when taking on a carefully managed loan may actually protect you and your family more than avoiding debt altogether. Think of it like reinforcing the foundation of a house. You wouldn't hesitate to spend money on fixing a crack in the foundation because that repair ensures the whole structure stands strong. In the same way, using debt to secure stability can prevent bigger problems down the road. For example, consider medical expenses. If someone avoids borrowing at all costs and drains their retirement savings to pay for an urgent procedure, they may create long-term stress for themselves and their family. On the other hand, taking on a modest, low-interest loan to spread out the cost can preserve their savings and allow them to recover with peace of mind. That choice isn't about chasing luxury or status, it's about maintaining balance and protecting stability. Another instance is when homeowners borrow to make essential repairs, like fixing a leaky roof before it destroys the rest of the house. Waiting until cash is on hand might actually lead to greater damage and higher costs. The trap is when debt is used for luxury. The flashy car, the spontaneous vacation, or the impulse purchases that fade faster than the bill. Borrowing for those reasons often leaves a person with nothing lasting to show for it. It's like buying balloons for a party on credit. They look nice for a day, but they deflate quickly, while the payments remain for months or years. Smart borrowing always leans toward investments in health, shelter, education, or safety, things that support the long-term foundation of life. The counterintuitive part is this: sometimes saying yes to the right kind of debt preserves freedom. Without it, families might feel forced to dip into funds that were meant to carry them through retirement or to support loved ones. The key difference lies in intent. Borrowing for stability comes with a plan and a purpose. Borrowing for luxury often comes from impulse and leaves regret. By choosing wisely, debt becomes a cushion rather than a chain, allowing you to face life's storms with steadiness instead of fear. And in doing so, you set an example for younger generations, showing them that debt can be used wisely when the focus is security, not excess. Interest is often called the price of borrowing, but it's more accurate to think of it as a silent partner who shows up the moment you take on debt. Unlike a friend or family member, this partner doesn't help around the house or share in the responsibilities. Instead, they sit quietly in the corner, collecting their share of your income every single month. The higher the interest rate, the louder this partner becomes, and the more space they take in your financial life. This is why smart people don't just accept interest as it comes. They negotiate with it, challenge it, and reduce its power whenever possible. Imagine two neighbors who both borrow 10,000. One does so at a modest rate of 5%, while the other agrees to 20%. The first might feel a small tug each month, like paying for an extra dinner out. The second, however, feels the weight of a full grocery cart leaving their home without ever being eaten. Over time, the difference between those rates isn't just numbers on paper. It's vacations postponed, savings diminished, or opportunities missed. Interest has a way of multiplying quietly, and unless you watch it closely, it can grow into a burden that feels impossible to shake. This is why paying only the minimum on credit cards is often a losing battle. The silent partner is patient, and while you sleep, the balance grows. Smart families look for ways to silence that partner sooner. They may choose to pay more than the minimum, refinance to a lower rate, or consolidate debt so that interest doesn't eat away at their peace of mind. It's not about eliminating all debt instantly. It's about making sure interest doesn't take a bigger share of your life than it deserves. What's powerful about this perspective is how it shifts the way we teach younger generations. When children or grandchildren see you treating interest like a negotiable factor instead of a fixed reality, they learn that money decisions are not set in stone. They understand that every agreement comes with fine print, and that being alert can save years of stress. Interest doesn't have to be the villain, but it does need to be kept in its place. By paying attention, asking for better terms, and refusing to ignore the silent partner in the room, you transform debt from a runaway train into something you can guide with both hands on the wheel. The hidden strength of saying, "Not now," is one of the most overlooked money skills, yet it can change the way families live and breathe. We live in a world that encourages quick decisions and instant gratification. Ads whisper, "Why wait?" and credit cards make it possible to have almost anything today. But what those ads don't show is the stress that lingers after the thrill fades. Smart people know that sometimes the wisest response to a tempting purchase or loan is not no. Forever, but not now. It's the pause that protects you. Think about a family vacation. Putting the entire trip on a high-interest credit card may bring joy in the short term, but it can also create months of financial pressure afterward. Now imagine waiting just one more year, saving bit by bit, and then paying for the trip in cash. The memories made are the same, but they feel lighter, because no one is lying awake afterward wondering how to cover the bill. That's the quiet power of "not now." It transforms an experience from a burden into a blessing. There's also a deeper layer to this idea. Saying "not now" teaches patience and planning, qualities that ripple through generations. Children and grandchildren learn not just from what we buy, but from how we buy it. When they watch an elder calmly delay gratification, they absorb the message that peace of mind is worth more than rushing into debt. It shows them that waiting doesn't mean losing, it often means gaining freedom. The strength of "not now" also lies in the breathing room it creates. Financial stress is one of the biggest sources of tension in households. By pausing before taking on debt, you allow space for conversations, for reflection, and for rethinking whether the purchase is truly needed. Sometimes, after waiting, you realize the desire has passed, and the debt would have been wasted. Other times, you confirm the purchase is worthwhile, and now you can move forward with confidence. This approach doesn't deny joy or experiences, it simply reframes them. The hidden strength is knowing that timing matters. By waiting until the choice supports stability instead of threatening it, you give yourself and your family a gift joy without the shadow of regret. In that way, "not now" isn't a loss at all. It's a strategy that keeps both your finances and your peace intact. Teaching by example is one of the most powerful ways to pass down financial wisdom, and it often speaks louder than any lecture or advice. When it comes to debt, The way we handle it becomes a living lesson for the younger eyes watching us. Children and grandchildren may not understand interest rates or repayment schedules, but they do notice patterns, whether money decisions bring calm or conflict, whether purchases are thoughtful or impulsive, whether debt is a tool for stability or a source of stress. These observations quietly shape the way they'll approach money in their own lives. Consider a grandparent sitting at the kitchen table, calmly explaining why they chose to take a small loan for a home repair instead of maxing out a credit card. That moment isn't just about fixing a roof. It's about showing the next generation that financial choices have reasoning, that debt isn't free money, and that every decision comes with both a cost and a benefit. Compare that to a household where bills are hidden, arguments break out, or debt is treated like a shameful secret. In those cases, children learn fear or avoidance instead of confidence. What makes teaching by example so powerful is that it doesn't require perfection. You don't need to have a spotless financial record to guide others. In fact, being honest about mistakes can sometimes be even more valuable. Imagine sharing the story of a time when you borrowed for something unnecessary and later regretted it. That honesty may prevent a child or grandchild from repeating the same pattern. Transparency builds trust, and trust makes lessons stick. Beyond debt itself, the habit of thoughtful decision-making is what truly gets passed on. When younger generations see you pausing to ask, does this add value? Will this create peace or stress? Is this worth the interest? They absorb those questions as part of their own decision-making process. Even if they don't say it out loud, those guiding principles stay with them when they face their own financial crossroads. In the end, teaching by example is less about giving rules and more about offering a model of calm responsibility. The next generation learns that debt doesn't have to be feared, but it must be respected. They see that money can serve family values instead of tearing them apart. And perhaps most importantly, they realize that every financial choice carries not just numbers, but lessons that ripple through time. So the secret is this: smart people don't fear debt, but they don't romanticize it either. They treat it like a tool, useful in the right job, dangerous if left unchecked. Used wisely, it may protect stability, preserve legacy, and teach the next generation how to walk the financial path with more confidence. Now I'd love to hear from you. What's the smartest or hardest lesson you've learned about using debt? Share your story in the comments. Your words may be the encouragement someone else needs today. And if you found this helpful, consider subscribing for more family-centered financial tips.